Hello, this is Daryl at 10 Foot Truck, Good Attitude Services. And I was just watching this video on a subject that I've been kind of looking at for quite some time. And it's by a guy named John Williams. Let's see what his video is. This is John Williams. He's on YouTube and he does stuff about economics and real estate and so forth. But he had a video about Amazon purchasing 750,000 robots and then testing them out in their warehouses to help with more efficiency in their warehouses. Of course, Amazon already had robots, but these are actually humanoid robots. They're not just those little robots that go around on the warehouse floor. So these are actually, they have legs and arms, and they operate kind of like a human would. And that's quite a few robots. So they're going to be testing that out. Something to look into or watch. It just came out today. I noticed on that video. I heard about it before, and I heard about the company, I think, that actually is producing these robots. I think it's the same company. So I'd seen that before. And I'd been watching stuff about years ago about Boston Dynamics, and they're developing these humanoid robots. Because I've always been curious about that. You know, for all I know, stuff that I do could be beneficial by using something like that. I mean, I load trucks. I do moving and all this stuff, and sometimes if some of these places have so many stairs and all that, it would be nice to have something like that that would operate, that would make it easier for loading, taking stuff up stairs and that. So I've always been looking into that kind of stuff. But it seems to me like the warehouses are where they're testing out a lot of those humanoid robots. So he talked about the Amazon, and he kind of went through on a lot of the different AI stuff that's coming out and how it's going to be changing a lot of the industries. And he went into how AI is going to be taking over and doing a lot of different systems where in administrative, legal, and all these different things that it's going to be affecting a lot of different types of careers and that. But I was just thinking about how over the years I've seen that personally. I've seen in my own jobs that I've had all the way back probably 30 years of places where I was working where they actually brought in automation. So it's not anything new. It's just getting more and more advanced. Because I remember when I was working at a cement factory, probably back in 1992, and it was this like cinder block factory, and we were in charge of bagging all the cement and then palletizing it, and so it was shipped, to where they used it. And we used to do that by hand, a lot of loading up the pallets. Well, around that time, they started bringing in a machine that was actually doing that, palletizing those bags. So it made it easier for us. But I remember seeing that. And then another job I had in manufacturing, where I was working in a manufacturing facility where we were making composite parts out of composite materials and using molds. And they brought in this computerized CNC machine to cut up the parts, and basically we could operate that ourselves they told us how to set it up and using a computer, where a lot of that used to be just a machinist would do that. And like my uncle, he used to work as a machinist, back in the 60s and 70s, and a lot of that was done by hand. The formulas are done on paper, and he did a lot of that by hand. Where now, in 1995, now they were using computers. And in fact, they wanted to hire him, but when he showed up there, he was like, "Nah, I don't really want to. It's not really what I'm interested in. I don't know anything about computers," because he was so used to doing things by hand, so he wasn't interested. So that was in 1995. And then forward that to 2003, I was working in the distribution center for the library, and we had to distribute media and books and things in totes. We had to set them up and sort them and set them up for the trucks to distribute to 50 libraries in the county. And we did that by hand, at least for a year that I know of. Of course, they probably did a lot longer than before that, but right around about a year into when I was working, they brought in a company or these engineers from Europe somewhere to build a robot to do sorting. And it was this big machine that sorted all the books or all the totes, and so that it would make it quicker instead of us having to hand sort it, and then it would take a lot longer. So this was more efficient, and I was really amazed by how fast this thing would sort out. You couldn't get anywhere near it. I mean, the thing was just going so fast. And that was in 2003. I was like, wow, that's pretty crazy. And it really did make things a lot faster. Of course, we cut down some of the hours that we were working there because it didn't take as much time. So anyway, that was something fairly interesting. And then I get another job. Oh no, sorry. I was doing moving on my own. I was doing my own moving labor, and I had a guy who worked with me. I had to send him out on a job that I couldn't do, and on that job, the guy there had worked for a robotics company and actually hired him to work there as a manager because he liked the way he worked. And that guy actually offered me the job, so I went down and looked at it, kind of see if it was something I was interested in. But they were doing logistics type robotics, much more advanced than the one I saw at the library. I mean, this stuff was crazy. So compared to what the sorting machine I saw there, so I knew that we were already advancing because that was in 2008 or somewhere around there, 2009. From 1995, then I saw the one in the library was 2003, and then up to 2008, 5 years later, and that goes, wow, these are even, I don't know how much more advanced they've got in these logistics robots. Well, now you look in these videos for Amazon, and they have those robots that move product around on the floor. And they've been doing that for quite some time. And that's been, I don't know how long that's been going on, but now they got the humanoid robots, which are ones that you see, like, if you look at the videos, like on Boston Dynamics and so forth. So it's quite a jump in that field. I mean, you've seen it progress fairly fast. Because I remember seeing that movie, I, Robot, I think it was in 2004 with Will Smith. And then looking at that stuff, and that was 20 years ago, going, yeah, that's never going to happen. But it really is heading that direction. So sometimes science fiction, it starts to happen in the future. It starts to happen, and you see it. And you see things like that. So it's something to keep an eye on. I mean, he talked about in that video that John Williams did, he talked about all the industries that are going to be affected by artificial intelligence and automation, robotics. But it's interesting that these are all projections that they're doing. It's interesting at the bottom, that some of the stuff that's not really going to be affected by automation and robotics is like, some of the manual labor, like, building, trades, construction, cleaning, landscaping, or like extraction, construction, cleaning, grounds cleaning. I guess that means like, landscaping, grounds keepers, and then even like some of the distribution or some of the transportation stuff is not going to be really as affected as some of the more of the some of the more like administrative type jobs, management, and legal. And he was mentioning, like, some of the office work in that and administrative type jobs, social service jobs, management, computer type jobs. Some of those are going to be more automated, I guess, according to what he was saying, which is interesting. So something to look into, and it's also something I was looking into for myself as doing, moving labor and, loading trucks, moving junk removal. I thought, well, I'm going to look into some things that may help me as opposed to having to physically bring stuff up stairs and stuff, is to have maybe something like that, some kind of robotic system that could help with that. I mean, of course, it's probably going to be very expensive. Like, it's like buying a car. I mean, I've seen some of those robots that are like, 20 grand or something. Some of the human, now I don't know if they can handle that kind of weight. I don't know if they can do that kind of work, because there's a lot more. It's like when you look at these robots that are in the at least is my theory. When I look at the robots that are in these warehouses, they're kind of, because I used to work in warehouses. I worked in distribution. I worked for UPS. I worked in the hub as a preload and UPS for many years, for about 6 years. And I worked in other warehouses too, and they kind of operate on a grid. Everything's kind of, you know, I could see how robots can work in those environments, especially like when I look at those Amazon robots. Um, it's almost like you set it on a grid. It's a computer. Everything's set in these systems. Like when you're sorting packages or when they're coming through these systems, I could see how that would work great with robotics because it's very predictable. I mean, not all of it, but it's much more predictable than like if you're going to go out on a job. Say I was going to do a junk removal job or a moving job. There's always something different about it. The way a house is, the way the landscape is, the way the stairs are, the items are all different sizes, or there's just so many different factors in that I would think that robotics, humanoid robots, would really need to have some high level programming to be able to factor in all those different environments. So I would see the start of robotics in the beginning are definitely going to be in those grid areas like robot like warehouse systems and that, or like I was talking about, like they're stacking pallets and that kind of thing, which is easier probably, or it's much more predictive and the way it's set up. So at least I don't know anything about computers or robotics. It's just in my mind I'm thinking that. And then as far as like the trades and plumbing and construction, that would be very difficult, I think, I'm sure that somewhere down the line they might start doing that, but right now it seems to me like that would be way too costly for companies to do that. But we'll see. I mean, the future is here. Seems like we're in this new, according to this video, he calls it the fourth industrial revolution or whatever. We had the industrial revolution with the assembly lines for cars, and then the automotive and all that, and airplanes, and now we're at this. Then we went through the computer age, and that's another thing. Like during the computer age, all these jobs like programmers and web designers, graphic designers, coders, all that didn't exist pre-computer. That was a whole new set of occupations that was developed around that technology. So we don't know what's going to be set up, what kind of jobs are going to open up for our professions with this new automation type stuff. That's going to be only seen when it happens. But I always look at it as, how can I use something like as a tool. Like I don't want to look at robotics as completely negative, because some people look at it, they're going to take over, it's going to be like Terminator and all that stuff, like the movies. But I try to look at it more like, as a person that's doing a service or whatever, is how can I implement something like that? Just like, how can I get a system? Like I saw this this dolly that I thought, wow, I saw one where it climbs stairs, and I was like, that would be great, but they're so expensive. And I also saw a pallet jack, because I used to use those in the warehouses. But I saw a pallet jack that actually has this hydraulic lift where you can put a pallet, and then it lifts all the way up into the truck, and then the whole pallet jack goes into the truck without having to have a lift gate. So I'm always looking at these different types of tools to help with moving things around. So that's why I look at robotics, because maybe something like that could be useful. It just depends on the cost. So anyway, that's why I look at stuff like that. But it's always interesting to see what's going to happen, and kind of like the new things that are coming in, new technologies, and that's the new thing now that I'm seeing a lot of, is robotics. So if you get a chance, check out that video by, let me look at it again. I'll try to find his name again. I know it's John Williams, but it's this is John Williams. That's his YouTube site. This is John Williams, and then it's Amazon buys 750,000 robots to replace staff. So he has got a lot of good points in there. The guy's pretty smart. And then I've looked at other types of people talking about robotics. It's just something I've paid attention. I always look into that, and also I'm always looking into like self-driving cars, and there's a lot of failures behind that. They haven't really perfected that, even though they've been doing that for a long time. But I'm just curious in all those new technologies. Something I like to look into. Anyway, I thought I'd mention that in a video. See what you guys think. Anyway, that's Good Attitude Services. 10-Foot Truck signing out.